So, here's what just went down in Doha, and honestly, it's something tennis has never seen before. Eala, sitting way outside the top 100 rankings, just packed the Khalifa International Stadium to capacity for a first-round clash against Tereza Valentova from the Czech Republic. We're talking complete sellout. Music every single seat gone. Cheering, screaming, let me put this in perspective for you. While Eala was creating absolute madness with 7,000 screaming fans, Grand Slam winners were literally playing to half-empty venues. The tournament directors looked at their entire roster of superstars and former world number ones, then said, "You know what? This 20-year-old Filipino is our headliner." Music, that decision just completely shattered how tennis scheduling works. When those tickets dropped, chaos, music erupted, and they were gone in minutes. Scalpers started appearing for what should have been a quiet Tuesday afternoon match. Security had to call for backup because the crowds outside the player entrance were getting out of control. For a sport where early rounds usually mean scattered applause and people checking their phones, this was like watching a different universe unfold. The Filipino community in Qatar mobilized like they were preparing for war. Social media exploded. Music, community groups activated. Fan clubs coordinated. This wasn't some corporate marketing campaign or paid promotion pushing ticket sales. This was pure grassroots passion from people who'd been waiting their whole lives for someone to represent them on this stage. Picture the contrast happening simultaneously across the venue. Music arena Sabalenka, who's won multiple majors and held the #1 ranking, walked out to maybe 30 or 40% capacity. EGA SWAC's early matches had entire music sections sitting empty. These are players who should theoretically own any tournament they enter. Instead, they're competing for scraps of attention while this young player who's never even won a WTA title commands the entire spotlight. That's got to mess with your head if you're one of those established champions. You've conquered Wimbledon, dominated Roland Garros, and climbed to the summit of the sport, and then this happens. Some player ranked outside the top 100 generates more electricity in one afternoon than you've created all season. The psychological impact of that reality is brutal. But here's what Eala figured out that others haven't. Tennis success isn't just about backhands and serve speeds anymore. It's about representing something bigger than individual achievement. Those Filipino fans weren't just cheering for clean winners or tactical brilliance. They were celebrating seeing themselves reflected on a global platform that's historically been dominated by European and American faces. Music, the match itself became this incredible test of mental strength. Imagine expecting polite tennis applause and instead getting hit by a sonic boom on every single point. That kind of energy can lift you up or completely overwhelm you. Eala had to channel 7,000 people screaming her name without letting it push her into overthinking everything. Music Valentova came in with advantages, too. She's a powerful player with heavy ground strokes and a big serve. Plus, she'd beaten Eala before in their previous meeting. The head-to-head history favored the Czech player, and statistically Eala had struggled against that playing style. On paper, this should have been straightforward for Valentova. Instead, Eala showed just how much she's evolved mentally. 2 years ago, that pressure might have crushed her completely. This time, she turned the crowd energy into fuel. Music, those defensive skills she picked up at the Rafa Nadal Academy kicked in. She started extending rallies, making Valentova hit extra balls until the Czech player's patience cracked. Music, there was this one point in the second set that went viral immediately. Eala got pulled so far wide on her backhand side, she was practically in the doubles alley. She sprinted, slid across the hard court, and somehow flicked this passing shot down the line that caught the corner perfectly. The roar that followed was so intense it actually registered on local seismographs. That's not an exaggeration. The noise was genuinely measured on scientific equipment. After she won, Eala grabbed the microphone and started speaking in Tagalog to the crowd. The place absolutely lost its mind. She thanked them for making her feel at home, acknowledged the overseas workers who spent their hard-earned money on tickets, and created this emotional connection that transcended the actual tennis match. That bond between athlete and community is what transforms sports from entertainment into something much deeper. Music, meanwhile, Sabalenka is probably sitting in her hotel room wondering how she became an afterthought at a tournament. Music, where she's legitimately one of the title favorites. She's achieved everything the sport has to offer, holds multiple Grand Slam trophies, and music reached the pinnacle of the rankings. Yet, the organizers threw their entire promotional weight behind someone who's never won a WTA event. The tournament directors made the right business call, though. Eala sells tickets in Qatar. Sabalenka doesn't, at least not with the same intensity. The Filipino expatriate community shows up in massive numbers, with incredible passion. Other demographics either don't attend with that same energy or simply music aren't present in large enough numbers to create that atmosphere. This exposes a massive blind spot in how the WTA markets its athletes. The tour has always relied on rankings and Grand Slam counts to determine promotional focus. But those traditional metrics completely miss cultural connection and demographic, music support. In Qatar, Eala might be ranked lower than Sabalenka, but from a pure business perspective, she's infinitely more valuable. Tournament directors across the globe are studying these numbers and realizing their scheduling philosophy has been backwards. They've been automatically putting top seeds in prime time slots, assuming that drives attendance. But what if the player with the most passionate following should get those slots regardless of where they sit in the rankings? This also reveals the massive untapped potential in Southeast Asian markets. The WTA has spent years chasing China with mixed results and moderate success. Music, but the Philippines represents something different. A market driven by pure emotional investment. Music, Eala is the key that unlocks that potential. If she continues this trajectory, we could see more events targeting Southeast Asia or, at minimum, recognition that she's become a primary marketing asset globally. For people watching from other continents, this might seem like a one-time novelty or cultural curiosity, but it's actually exposing a fundamental shift in tennis demographics. Music, European and American stars have dominated the infrastructure, media coverage, and sponsorship dollars for decades. Everything flows toward those established markets. But populations like the Philippines have massive music, tennis fan bases that have been completely ignored because they didn't have a champion to unite behind. Now they do music, and they're proving they can generate atmospheres and economic impact that rivals anything happening in traditional tennis strongholds. That reality should genuinely worry established stars who've gotten comfortable assuming their positions are secure. Because Eala music demonstrated that emotional connection matters more than career accomplishments when it comes to filling stadiums. The evidence was right there. Empty seats for Grand Slam champions. Sold-out crowds for someone who's never won a professional title. The pressure on Eala moving forward becomes intense in a completely different way. Tournament organizers now have to schedule her matches carefully because music can't risk putting her on outside courts or burying her in morning sessions. Music dictates the schedule instead of the schedule dictating her placement. That's the textbook definition of star power. But there's real danger lurking here, too. The emotional expenditure from a match like this is absolutely draining. Young players often win these massive atmospheric battles in front of home-like crowds, then come out completely flat in the next round. The adrenaline hangover is a documented phenomenon. Eala's team has to manage her recovery, help her sleep, and refocus her energy on the next opponent. The tournament isn't won in round one. Regardless of how earth-shaking the crowd support was, she still has to execute tennis fundamentals against increasingly difficult opponents. As the week progresses, managing expectations while maintaining that competitive edge becomes the real challenge. Those images of empty seats at other featured matches compared to the sold-out Eala session will define how people remember this entire tournament. It doesn't matter who eventually lifts the trophy at the end of the week. The story of the Qatar Open 2024 became about Eala the moment those first chants started echoing through the stadium. She injected life, energy, and color into what was shaping up to be another forgettable early season event. Sabalenka and the other top seeds have to process this psychological reality. They're superior players right now based on results and consistent performance, but they can't manufacture the atmosphere that Eala creates effortlessly. Music, that's a mental blow that's difficult to overcome because it forces them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Being the most accomplished player doesn't automatically make you the most important or compelling player. Excellence and relevance aren't always the same thing. The Filipino supporters prove something that tennis authorities desperately need to understand. Passionate, deeply engaged fan bases are what keep professional sports alive and thriving. You can have the most technically music-gifted players in history, but if nobody cares enough to show up and create energy, the sport slowly dies. Eala has something that can't be taught or developed through better coaching. She has a built-in global following that travels with her everywhere because Filipino communities exist in virtually every major city worldwide. That's a competitive advantage that has nothing to do with shot-making or tactical preparation. It's cultural and demographic, and it's forcing players like Sabalenka, who've dominated through pure tennis excellence, to realize that modern star power requires more than just winning matches. You need to represent something that resonates with people on a deeper level. So, Eala just sold out an entire stadium for a first-round match while Grand Slam champions played to scattered audiences. The Qatar Open organizers made her their featured attraction, music over world number ones and former champions. And that decision created an unprecedented atmosphere and economic success. Star power in tennis isn't about rankings anymore. It's about connection. And Eala has mastered that completely.